He can't see and you can't see.
If you're driving in the car, it's like your headlights are on, but you don't see a good beam down the road that's illuminating the road. What's happening is those halogen lights, they have a reflector in the back, and the light bulb is designed to bounce off that reflector, and there are a couple different beams of light that are bouncing off and then all focusing forward. When you change to an LED, that light is designed different, and the way those beams bounce off of your reflector, they all end up pointing in different directions, and you don't have a concentrated beam of light anymore going down the road.
That's right. We had the guy on from Sylvania on a few years ago. I'm going to try to get him back, so hang on. And he was talking about you can't do that. I was like, really? I thought that's what everybody says to do. And he goes, no, everybody's wrong. I was like, okay. And he said, you can't do that. That's the big mistake. You can't see as well, and it's just going to, and the people coming the other way aren't going to see as well. Do not go to halogen. Do not go to LED lights unless it came with it. Now, you can take a standard light and go to a halogen light. Okay, you can do that, but you can't go to the LEDs. They just have a different setup and a different beam and everything. Now, you can change your light, or you can add driving lights. You can add fog lights or something like that to it separately. That'll be okay. But
you could, if you did want to go to LEDs, you could change the entire housing. You wouldn't have to,
right.
It's not just the bulb, it's the entire housing, which ends up being a little bit more costly. Occasionally you'll see that in some cars. They like to do what look like the BMW, the Halo style lights or something. Right. And that's the whole housing is different. It's not just a light bulb that's plug and play.
Sure.
My concern when you go to some of these either light bulbs that you're adding to your original housing is if the draw is not the same. Sometimes they advertise these light bulbs 2 times stronger, 2,000 lumens, whatever it may be. It's pulling an extra draw on your wiring harness. I'm worried about the actual integrity of the wires and if the bulb is going to melt, your light lens.
I've seen them where they melt, or people didn't put them in correctly and they weren't latched in correctly and they're kind of angled and it will melt the housing. I've seen that. I remember talking to him. The guy goes, well, my lights just aren't bright enough. I said, well, when's the last time you changed them? Changed the bulbs? Well, yeah. I haven't ever changed the bulb. Well, your vehicle's 10 years old. And I was like, he goes, well, okay, they're not burnt out. I said, well, the bulbs deteriorate. They degrade.
Right.
Okay, so just take the regular halogen bulbs that came in it and put in new bulbs. I've done that on my last BMW motorcycle. I replaced just the bulbs with the stock bulbs, and they were dramatically brighter. And I was like, yeah, this thing was 6 years old, and I put bulbs in it, the stock bulbs back in it. And it was dramatically brighter. And I was like, I didn't realize they deteriorated that much. And they were the halogen, H1 bulbs. And I was like, this is the big difference. And all it was new bulbs.
Yeah. A lot of times, we're hearing from people, they live in the mountains, they live in the forest. And when you're in a place like that where you don't get good city light, your general typical headlights aren't going to do enough to light up the road. Doesn't matter what kind of bulbs you put in them. And I think the best suggestion in someone in that situation is you go to an auxiliary lighting setup, something that has its own button, its own relay. And when you turn it on, it's going to lighten up everything that's in front of you.
Right. When nobody's around and nobody's coming the other way, there are times that you go around a corner and somebody's got some crazy light beam.
It drives me nuts. People in LA, they want to look cool and they're driving the 101 freeway with a light bar on their truck. It's got 6, KC lights all lit up. And it's like, okay, you're real cool, buddy. Just blinding everybody on the freeway.
Right. Or some people will do a lift, or some people will have something on a trailer. There'll be this or that. And all of a sudden the lights, they're so out of adjustment. Every once in a while I'll have to go and the other day I did a vehicle and I just pulled up to my garage door and I noticed that one light was higher than the other. So I had to get out there and adjust it. And I realized that that's what it was. And
I laugh because you see that sometimes on these cars and it's like a jack-o'-lantern or something.
Yeah.
Right?
One light's high, one light's low, it's like sleepy time. That one eyelid's low, one lazy eye. That's what it is. Lazy eye. And And I just, okay, all you got to do is adjust these. In the old days, to do a state inspection years ago, you used to have to adjust the headlights, check the headlight adjustment. They got rid of that, 20 years ago, but that was just something we had to do. But people will lift the vehicles up. They'll do this, they'll do that, but they'd never change the headlight adjustment. And if they did that, they'll realize how much better they can see if they lower their lights a little bit, because they're just shining up at the sky. They need to, when you lift your vehicle up a little bit or put bigger wheels and tires or doing this stuff, drop your lights down a little bit and you'll be able to see. People, you can adjust your lights. There's just little screws right there.
They're little screws, and as Mike kind of mentioned, you the way to check it is you pull up to a garage or a flat wall or something, and you're about 10 feet away, and you can see exactly where those light beams are going. You'll be able to tell if they're pointed down towards the road, a little bit towards the curb, or up into the sky.
Or go on your street or something on a dark night and nobody's around, and just look and see where they're at. And you can go, okay, I'm off a little bit. Oh, I can fix that. No wonder I can't see. There are people, or when somebody's coming the other way, and they're all of a sudden they're flashing their lights at you, and you're going, wait a minute, I'm on low beam. Why are they so irritated? Well, okay, now I see why. Please do that, folks. I mean, it makes a big difference. And just like every once in a while, back up to your garage door or some kind of convenience store or some kind of store that may be closed, and double check that your brake lights and turn signals work. No, there are people out that their brake lights are out. I try to pull up to them and tell them something, but they're pulling away at the light. But be sure to check your brake lights and turn signals every once in a while too.
Now, modifying your brake lights to go with a LED light versus a halogen, you're not going to have the same type of issues as you do with your headlights, correct?
No, but you may have to put a resistor in there because they will flash real fast. There's no resistance there, so you have to put a resistor, which most of the time it costs you like $3, and you have to wire those in. Otherwise, they'll flash really fast because there's no current. There's no resistance there. So because they don't draw anything, so you have to put that in there. So that's the brake light, no, but the turn signal, they'll just flash really fast. So you have to fix that. But they're worth it because they're much brighter. Just like it makes me crazy when people take their tail lights and they darken them, because they look really cool, like black taillight lenses. But then I can't see them when it's nighttime. I know
exactly what you're talking about.
And I'm pulling up on them and going, I'm about run over you because I didn't see you because your taillights are so dim. I want the brightest taillights I can get. I want everybody to see me so they don't run the back of me. So that's exciting. All right. That was a fun show today. I mean, listening to the lady from the truck place, it was just great. Michaela was interesting, and she was fun to talk to him. And I actually talked to him about some tonneau covers and some car covers. Especially, we were talking about classic cars and storing them. They have the covers for that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's something that all classic car owners are always asking us about.
That's right. All right. We got a lot of
Sandrock Concrete specializes in all types of concrete, driveways, sidewalks, basements, and garages. We also do stamp-colored concrete in many different designs. We do interior and exterior stonework, regular brick and block work. Sandrock Concrete is fully insured. Call Jerry Sandrock at 330-506-0013 for an estimate. Also find them on Facebook at Sandrock Concrete LLC. Sandrock Concrete, where you deal with the owner all the time.
Want to know what I like best about high school sports? I love watching my son run on the field. I love the fact that since he's been playing high school sports, he's making better decisions. And I love knowing that with the proper equipment, education, conditioning, and coaching, high school sports here in Ohio are safer than ever before. That's something I really love.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
That continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now. with a free call. 800-858-6811. 800-858-6811. 800-858-6811. That's 800-858-6811.
The diehards. But I just took a look at LeBron and Jordan. Now, LeBron is obviously now number 1 in scoring. Jordan's number 5. LeBron is number 4 in assists. Jordan's number 50. But LeBron's also played 350 more games than Jordan, which I think is a big differentiating point, too.
I was going to say, I think to play devil's advocate here, I think Michael Jordan might have switched sports, if I'm not mistaken, and played 3 years of baseball during his prime.
And I kind of wonder that if Jordan doesn't do that, he still had good years in 99 and 2000 if he had chose to play those years, which he didn't before coming back to the Wizards. You wonder, though, if he played those 2 years in the middle of the 90s and then maybe even one more year at the end of the Bulls, say the 98-99 season, I think we would see these numbers even out. We might see Jordan at number 1 in scoring. We might see him at number 1 in steals.
And I think the big case that everyone will always make for Jordan over LeBron is the fact that he's won 6. And even though LeBron's been to more, he's only got 4.
The Diehards, weeknights from 8 to 10 Eastern on the Sports Map Radio Network.
The Diehards. I mean, my kids got 17 new ghost bats because of it. And if you don't know anything about softball and ghost bats, they're like 500 apiece. They got a ghost bat, and they got a backup ghost bat. Like, seriously, do you really need a backup $500 bat? Yeah, I guess you do. If you break it, you need it. Can you just borrow a teammate if you break it? No. You need a G-note in that softball bag.
The Diehards, weeknights from 8 to 10 Eastern on the Sports Map Radio Network.
Wake up call! OJ took to the Twitter world.
Well, a whole lot of people asking me what I think about this Alex Murdoch trial. I don't know why they think I'm an expert on it, but...
So...
OJ, oh my God.
So,
OJ.
I don't understand why people would think I'm an expert on a murder trial. Alex Murdaugh, and this is before the verdict came down. We now know he's found guilty, but he was accused of double homicide.
Do you think he has that thing where part of his brain just took that event and just annihilated it?
It was almost as if he was hinting about the Ron and Nicole situation, but never talked about it.
This is unbelievable. This is a Saturday Night Live skit. This is a guy impersonating O.J. Simpson. This is a deep fake video. This is amazing.
Wake Up Call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
If you're missing the cash-in with Jason Page, then you're missing this.
Well, what does it mean for Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, if I'm Garoppolo and I walk into a room and I'm the same age as Derek Carr, I've won more. I almost won a Super Bowl. Derek Carr, the closest he's gotten to a Super Bowl is buying tickets. He should get at least $35 million a year. Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to get the same thing as Geno Smith, you're telling me?
The Cash-In, weeknights at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on Sports Map Radio.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge, a part of the Sports Map Radio Network.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. Western Reserve Radio is the station you're listening to. We do it from the Gessler Propane Studio here in Struthers, Ohio. 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. Again, it's the Saturday morning sports page, and we do it every Saturday morning here on Western Reserve Radio from 9 to 11. Oh, Dave Clark, you go away for a week, come back, and all, I guess we'll just say, all H breaks loose. How's that sound? Keep this a family show.
Yeah.
Almost, where do we start? NFL, probably one of the biggest headlines out there is the trade that went down actually late yesterday. And Carolina has now got the number one draft pick in this 2023 draft. They brokered a deal with the Chicago Bears, and boy, the Chicago Bears just made out like a bandit. Mm-hmm. They actually get, they give up the number one pick, which now, rumor has it, is going to be Stroud out of Ohio State. What do the Carolina Panthers now with the number one pick in this draft give up? Well, they gave up 2 first-round picks, DJ Moore, and then I believe they also, what they get, and this is the shopping list for the record, this is what Chicago will get, the 9th overall pick in this year's draft, a second-round selection in 2023, which is the number 61st overall, which was originally from the 49ers. So they get a second-round pick this year. Then they will get a first-round pick in 2024 and a second-round pick in 2025. Also, it says, and DJ Moore is a receiver who just completed the first year of his 3-year deal, which was paying him $61.8 million a year that he had signed with the Panthers. So they get DJ Moore, pretty good wide receiver, which now the word is obviously Justin Fields will be a Chicago Bear. That word, the rumor out there, supposedly that Fields was going to be potentially traded. And then obviously the Bears would take a quarterback. They did not go that way.
Yeah. And all those rumors that came out, every time the head coach, and you can't believe stuff to go on, but you could tell he was like steadfast that he was not, because he finally got the same offensive coordinator and offensive system in Chicago for the first time in some years now, because they've always been changing. So now to be seen him getting comfortable towards the end of the season, getting a little better, still got to improve his passing and everything like that. But if you can stand in the same system, same voice, everything going, I think he can definitely improve on that. Great athlete, so you give him the opportunity to stay there and keep advancing. And getting DJ Moore, when you say you need a security blanket, yeah, that guy catches the ball in traffic. He does all the tough routes, and he can go deep too. So picking him, that's what they definitely needed a receiver like that, and that might push Claypool and the other guys even come up with higher because Claypool got a lot of talent too. So this looks very good for Chicago for sure.
I mean, you never know with these trades.
Mm-hmm.
Did Carolina give up too much to get to the number 1 pick?
Yeah,
well,
that's a lot.
We don't know. Rumor now or speculation. If you're a betting person, all of a sudden now, Stroud out of Ohio State is now rumored or at least favored to be the number 1 quarterback picked in this draft or the number 1 pick overall, because obviously Carolina did this, so they're drafting a quarterback.
Right.
That's obviously here.
Mm-hmm.
The question is going to be which one. And, it looks like now Stroud will be the quarterback, not Bryce Young out of Alabama, but DJ Stroud out of the Ohio State University will in all probability be the number 1 pick in this draft.
Yeah, that's my concern. If Bryce Young was 6'3", 220, there would be no question it's a wrap. Because this guy could do it all with that football. He could throw it, he's accurate, smart, everything. They'd be concerning of size and playing in Carolina. Same thing would have been in Chicago, but not exactly the same because it's super cold there. But playing in Carolina outdoors, you might want a bigger guy to deal with that, and then in that division too. So I think that's why they're heading that way, which I think really falls into Houston's lap because I think really Houston wants Bryce Young anyway. So that it's interesting to see if Stroud can be the guy. He shows a good passing touch. I think he's the better passer than any of the Ohio State quarterbacks that came out recently. I used to question. I don't like doing this, but he used to give me the impression. I never say scared, but apprehensive as a quarterback when rush is on him.
Yeah.
He's not running. He looks very timid. He showed a lot of heart, though, in the game against Alabama. A little different. He ran the ball.
Georgia game.
Georgia. Yeah. He had to show them some kind of toughness. He did that game. So if he could stay with that, I think he may have the tools to do it. But it causes Carolina, who I think is not bad. So he's got to come on strong right away because it's not like they're out of it.
No, they got a good team.
Yeah. So he's got to advance quickly because, it's going to be hard. You got that window, and you don't want to be a couple years down the road. He's ready. Now the guys that you did have, they're on their way out or whatever's going on. And that's how the NFL is now. So that's the key. If he can be ready right away, I think it's okay. If not, I still think Chicago, they did a good job. And it's all on not DJ Moore, but all on CJ Stroud to make sure that was a trade that was beneficial to Carolina. It's on him. They gave up a massive haul. Not the Herschel Walker style, but it's massive.
It's in there.
Yeah, it's up there.
It's definitely in there. It's CJ now. I call him DJ. I'm getting my initials confused.
Yeah, DJ.
It's CJ Stroud.
Right.
DJ Moore. It's the
DJ Moore.
Wide receiver.
Yep.
It's early. My coffee hasn't kicked, and I apologize.
Yeah, you got CJ and DJ.
CJ Stroud. And DJ Moore will now go to the Bears.
Yep.
Justin Fields will be throwing to him.
Yeah, he'll be happy about that.
Obviously, the other quarterbacks will be Bryce Young. Now, supposedly, why this is all, we always get into this, doors open up. Now we talk about Houston. Word is that Houston is one of the teams interested in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, Jimmy Garoppolo's door is a lot of people knocking on it.
Yeah, well, I figure, you got them. I'm sure the Raiders will be there.
Raiders.
A couple more. Who did I see? There's two more teams.
There are two more teams.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems here, these are the teams. Well, Carolina Panthers were.
That's what, yep, they were
on Wednesday. Now, obviously, they're out of the formula. Also, they were reportedly not in now, that takes them out of Lamar Jackson.
Right.
The other story out there yesterday is that the Miami Dolphins picked up the 5th-year option for Tua, which now takes them out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, because there was a lot of rumors and buzz out there that supposedly he's from the area, he's from South Florida. So he was going to go back home and play for the Dolphins. That's been kind of a hotbed rumor out there floating for a couple months now. That seems to be out of the formula because they picked up Tua's option.
Right.
So it looks like they're out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. Obviously, Carolina now is out of that altogether since they gave up the draft capital they did.
Oh, yeah, they can't. There's no way to enter it.
So they're going after, we believe it'll be DJ Stroud, who will be there.
DJ.
Yeah, CJ. Thank you, Dave Clark. It's the D. He gets D. Unfortunately, he won't have DJ Moore to throw to.
Yeah, that would have been CJ to DJ.
Yeah, he won't have DJ to throw the ball to, though.
Right.
DJ is Justin Fields will have DJ
Moore
to throw to.
Right.
But CJ Stroud will be in Carolina, obviously. The Raiders are also out of the. It looks like Raiders are still in the picture for Garoppolo.
Right.
So it looks like right now, Houston and the Raiders are teams that are interested in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
So we'll see if he can get into a bidding war or not. Panthers are out of that formula altogether. It's interesting, though, to see that as much as the 49ers keep saying they're not interested in Garoppolo, I have a feeling. Why do I think that after the 49ers sit and think about this, I would not be overly blown away that if they end up, saying, hey, Jimmy, are you interested in maybe signing like a 2 or 3 year deal here? Because maybe Trey Lance needs another year on the bench. We don't know what we have there. So, bottom line is maybe we keep him another year or two. I think the only problem is I think there's going to be a little bit of a bidding war for Garoppolo, and his price tag isn't going to be really, outrageously high, but some team will definitely sign him either $30 million a year with $35 million a year, which seems to be what these quarterbacks are getting.
Yeah. Well, I know it's going to run into some areas with a few of the other guys' contracts that's coming up in San Fran. So to put some more stock and money into Garoppolo again, and you're going to have guys that got to get their contracts renegotiated. They may really be done, as they said, and going to move on. They got to pull the trigger soon. They can't just keep waiting. So just even financially. So I keep them in a smooth going. I think they would. I think they really would go from Garoppolo. I know that the rumor I heard now, as you said, Garoppolo would be got to make them think. But this deal fell through last night. It didn't go through with Lamar Jackson, if you guys heard, with the Detroit Lions. It was all right on the brink of always a big deal, and it didn't go through. I forgot what happened with it, but it was him going to Detroit, which would have made our guy there was in Detroit from the Rams.
Golf is now expendable.
Yeah, he would have been expendable. I wouldn't doubt San Fran doing something like that, picking up a guy like that.
And Goff.
Yeah, just if they had to, if they needed a veteran in there, just
so
for a stopgap. But
what you heard, let's back up just a hair a little bit now that we're going to get to Lamar Jackson, because we still got to get to Aaron Rodgers, then we still got to get to the college basketball. Ohio State making a little move to see if they can win 2 more games and find themselves in the NCAA tournament. We'll get to that.
Right.
But that's the other stuff. And then we got Rodgers going to the Jets, and they're in the process of working out the deal. And we'll talk a little bit more. But let's get back to you had indicated that Detroit was on the brink of getting a deal for Lamar.
Right.
Yeah, there's rumor out there that there's been it's collusion that teams aren't interested in Lamar. Yeah. But see, the only problem, I don't really think it's collusion as much as like if if you had Patrick Mahomes in that same situation, just say, which you know would never happen, but if Patrick Mahomes, if he in Kansas City, quote, couldn't come to a contract, he wanted all guaranteed money. We all know that if Patrick Mahomes was out there on the market and it was a matter of, giving him a guaranteed contract of, we'll say $250 million, you and I both know a team would give up 2 number 1 first-round picks and sign him tomorrow. He wouldn't even get, there wouldn't be a day goes by. Patrick Mahomes would be signed. I would even make an argument Joe Burrow would probably fall into the category. What hurts Lamar Jackson is you've missed 5 games each of the last 2 seasons with a bad knee, and you're a mobile quarterback. You run around, you make a lot of stuff happen, but now you all want guaranteed money.
Right.
However, when you say that Detroit was on the brink of signing him, that also tells me there's somebody out there that will do this.
Yeah, somebody will do
Someone will do this.
Yeah, somebody. It's always somebody.
There's always a team out there that will sign him. And wait this, I know people are all yelling, well, someone seems to be interested. The team that I think is also in the mix, I would not be too totally blown away if the Washington Commanders are the one. And I think in a way, Daniel Snyder, who they want him to sell the team, he doesn't want to sell the team. Yada yada. They're going back. I wouldn't be shocked if Daniel Snyder says, "Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give Lamar Jackson a guaranteed $300 million contract. Then I'm going to sell the team." There you go, NFL. I just set the quarterback bar that much higher.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Snyder doesn't do something like that and then sells the team.
Yeah.
Just to get back at the NFL, he gives Lamar Jackson just a boatload of money, all guaranteed, to say, okay, I'm going to set the quarterback price that much higher, and I'm going to give them all guaranteed money.
Yeah.
But obviously, that seems to be the sticker, is people say, well, he wants guaranteed money. No one wants to give it to him. Well, wait a minute. You don't know that, because I still think there's 1 or 2 teams out there that are going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to try to, and that's why they call it collusion, because the guaranteed money, now nobody won't do it. So it looks funny, but, somebody's
going to do it.
Somebody will push past. It's always somebody. There's always an outlier somewhere. So
you have 32 teams.
Right.
31 owners, because Green Bay technically is owned by Green Bay. But you have 31 owners out there. And look how much Carolina gave up to get, we believe, a number 1 pick will go probably Stroud, DJ Stroud.
CJ.
You're
going to say that all day. You can't help it.
I can't help it. It's DJ Stroud. Or CJ Stroud. Yeah, now I'm saying it. That's right. I'm going to say it all day.
Say it all day. Watch.
It's like a little kid.
I've seen the announcers on TV doing it.
Yeah, CJ Stroud. Bottom line is, if they gave up that much, it's not out of the realm of possibility that someone's going to give Lamar Jackson a guaranteed deal.
Yeah, because he's not an unknown quantity.
No, he's a known quantity.
And then when I seen a stat the other day, I hope I can find it again. It's only 5 quarterbacks in the history to have, I forgot what it was, a certain amount of touchdown passes, of passer rating of 97 or higher in their first 61 starts, and he's one of them. The other ones was Dan Marino.
Right.
I think it wasn't Troy Aikman. It was Marino, Mahomes, and I think it's 2 other veteran guys that is out the league. Is out. And I said, he's in category with these guys?
He's in, right.
So, they were showing that his passing is underrated because he runs well that they look at him as a running quarterback only. And then when you look at that, there's no way your rating could be that high. Your completion percentage that high. And his touchdowns to interception ratio that good to be just a running quarterback. But that's the perception you get because he's so well. He's so good at it.
He's so good at it.
Yep. So, and then with what you just said, the history of the last 2 years of being injured, then they think, well, he's a running quarterback, he's not going to last, whereas he might can flip his game similar to what Michael Vick did when he got to Philly and Andy Reid work with him to stay in the pocket, only run if necessary. And that's what Vic wasn't just a running guy.
No.
He was, and remember, he won comeback player of the year,
right.
And was like second or so to the MVP for that year, and had a great season. And had a second season was real good. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Lamar Jackson can be just that type of guy also, who will always be a threat because of how well he runs the football. So I think, and I'm with you on that.
Someone's going to do it.
Somebody's going to do something very close to that.
Like I said, I keep going back to C.J. Stroud going to be number one. What Carolina gave up, to get him. Now maybe they throw a curve and go to Bryce Young. It could happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it could definitely happen.
We'll wait and see. But when Carolina gave up all that, basically 2 number ones, a number 2, wide receiver, and a 4.
And not just a wide, an all pro. You may
DJ Moore, all pro wide receiver, one of the best in the league. They gave him up, and all the draft stock just to go. So they're going to draft one of these quarterbacks coming out this year, with some experts saying it's not the greatest It's a good class, but not great.
Right.
We don't know until they get on the field, but that's how desperate Carolina is for a quarterback. So what is it to say there's not a team out there like Washington? And think about it this way. If you're Washington, you go out, you hire Eric Bieniemy as your offensive coordinator and assistant head coach.
Right.
Don't you want Eric Bieniemy to have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson? Of course you do.
Yeah.
So that's what I still think that the wild card is Washington. And I won't be too totally blown away or shocked that Washington, because it's Stan Snyder, and he may love to just do this to get back at the owners, give Lamar Jackson all the guaranteed money in the world just to stick it to the owners. And then he has his quarterback, Eric Bieniemy, will be the offensive coordinator, assistant head coach. And then he rolls into next year with Lamar Jackson as the guy, and he'll sign him, he'll give up the first 2 first rounders and move on. Now, they said the other thing Baltimore could do, if some team is willing to give them the contract and they can't get on the agreement on the 2 first rounders, they could do like a sign and trade.
Yeah.
And then they could give them a first round and then maybe 2 seconds and a third. So that's a possibility out there, that a team calls Baltimore and says, look, we want him. We don't want to give you the 2 first rounders, but we'll give you a first round and 2 seconds and a third, and then put it over 2 years and throw a couple more picks in, but they just don't want to give up 2 first rounders. They were saying that Baltimore could say, okay, fine, we'll do a sign and trade. We'll take that deal.
Yeah. And if they can get something, well, I can't say they're not totally not comfortable with Huntley. If they had to go with him, he's not bad. He plays well with Baltimore. They got other issues that they got to do to get tighten their team back up to where it's up to par. But this situation, I think, in my opinion, I know it's only March, but I think you got to get it cleared up soon so you could know what direction you're going, because Monday starts, as they call it, free agent frenzy. It's really already started, but it's going to be really going crazy when Monday comes.
Right.
And
Monday will be obscene because it's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to start, it's just going to go crazy that whole day. Well, all week.
All week.
Because it's free agent frenzy week.
Right. And I think don't hold me to it, it's one day next week that the NFL has to have their cap. They have to have their rosters pretty much set, because
you look at the
cap
numbers,
for the cap number.
That's why this stuff is so important. You got to get it down.
That's why the Jets and Rodgers and the Packers have to get an agreement before. I think don't hold me to the day. I believe it was Thursday of next week.
Yeah.
I believe that was the day that they have to get their numbers into the NFL roster as far as salaries and where they are in relation to the cap. And that's why, and we'll get to Rodgers, but that's why the Rodgers and the Jets and the Packers have to figure it out, because the Packers definitely do want to get rid of Rodgers here. That's not.
Yeah, and I
they
hate
want to.
It's been like this, but this is a ongoing theme.
Right
now with the two best quarterbacks they didn't had since Bart Starr probably.
When you think of Bart's right.
Yeah, so you got Brett Favre.
Right.
Same scenario. This is eerie. Same scenario.
Oh, it is almost.
He went to the Jets.
Right.
Also, so is next year we're going to see Rodgers in Minnesota. If what you call it can't get the job done. If he can't get the job done, do we see him go to Minnesota? Because they're going to get tired of what they done gave him also if they can't get it going.
Well, yeah, the Jets are right. I mean,
isn't that fun? That would be weird if they, if it's the same scenario. But it is. It's sad that you see their career is so similar, eerie similar that.
Oh yeah,
it's always a problem. Then they get rid of these great players. You hate to see that happen.
Is Jordan Love the next Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah,
could he be?
Because they
seem very high on him.
But they have had. I mean, we know Brett Favre is not Brett Favre, but Bart Starr. Since I made that comment, but in between then, just looking at the quarterbacks they had on their team, they have been a great proponent of finding quarterbacks. I mean, you have Kurt Warner, Aaron Brooks, Mark Brunell.
Yeah, my gosh.
All them guys was on at one time, they were all on the same team. They had too many guys on the practice squad when they had Brooks, Brunell, and it wasn't Kurt Warner, was another player. I forgot who it is. All on the same team with Don Majkowski in them. I mean, that's unbelievable. All these quarterbacks were on the same squad. They had to start dispersing them. So Brooks went to New Orleans, had a very good career in New Orleans.
Had a pretty good career, New Orleans,
was good in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I mean, and we know Kurt Warner, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, they have been great with getting quarterbacks and grooming them. So could Jordan, as you just said, that comment you said, it's something to think about. Can he be the next Favre and Rodgers? You can have him for 15 years.
You're gonna have, that's right.
Wow. That'd be if that happens, and this guy is real good, that is remarkable.
Oh, that'll almost be unheard of.
Oh, I mean, it's
because you
crazy.
could if you would get that, say if you get 12, 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
You would be basically having, how many years you get out of Favre 15, Rodgers 15, 10 or 12. That would be like over 40 years of the same of three quarterbacks, covering a span of, say, over 40 years with three quarterbacks. And if, I think now Green Bay seems to be, and I think their fans seem to be, hey, it's really time to see what we have in Jordan Love.
Right. That's what they did with
Guy's
Aaron.
been on the bench. You did it with Rodgers. It's time to move on.
And see what you got.
Let's see what we have with Jordan Love. And he might be the guy or not. But if he's not the guy, then you'll find out and move on. But you're not going to know with him sitting on the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Saturday Morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. Coming back after this quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted Par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the Angry Giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Uh-huh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play. And you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. Western Reserve Radio is the station you're listening to. We do it from the Gessler Propane Studio. Gessler's in our studio knocking over the heater.
Yeah, I love his contact.
Start to get his renovation fire for this joint. Do we have way too much fun poking that bear? The Gessler bear we like to poke. Yeah, he's got a bear on his Facebook. I don't know what that's about. We'll have to ask him next time. He's got some picture of a bear like Smokey the Bear. Anyway, we digress.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to the quarterback situation in the NFL, this only continues to get better. Like, this is just like the NFL just keeps giving you one after the other after the other. You know, you have one story and one story. Like, Brett Favre started his career in Green Bay in 1992. You know, we were talking about how long Green Bay had these quarterbacks. He finished his career from 92 to 2007. That was his, you know, he played in 15 games in 92, and he played just about, you know, one thing with Brett Favre, you know, talk about players, and Brett Favre would be a terrible NBA player because he'd never sit down.
Yeah, I know.
He was an Iron Man when it came to playing. I pull up he played 15 games, 1992, and then he played in 16 games. I mean, it's just, he started in 16 games about every year.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable that he just never missed.
No.
He was he started in 13 games in 1992 out of the 15. They went 8-5. But then after that, Brett Favre played in every game from 1993 to 2007. 16 games a year he started in and played. For all his, I mean, here's a guy that just never missed a game.
Yep, and if you look back and really remember his career, he was banged up many times.
Oh, yeah.
Shoulder, back, all
yeah.
kinds of leg, knee, ankles, still playing.
Yeah, how many concussions you think he had?
Yeah, I know. Now, going back there, I bet you're not going to tell me he didn't have any concussions. The guy played tough, too. He did not run out of bounds.
No.
You know, or shy away from
got
the
hit,
rush.
slammed. I mean, he was, you know, but here's a guy that basically, when you want to talk about the Iron Man of football and playing games, he did not sit out and miss games.
Absolutely right.
I mean, but in Green Bay, you know, we were just talking, and then Rodgers stepped in 2007. So if you add that up to 223, 222.
Right.
Now he had a couple bad injuries that he missed some. He missed some.
I
right,
mean,
but he pretty much played too.
Yeah.
He had some bad injuries that he actually broken collarbones where he could not play,
and then came back that same
but he
season.
did come back. So I mean,
that was crazy. I remember that when he had that, and they said he should be done for the season, but they was well enough to get towards the playoff rate. He came back and played, which was very dangerous, but he did it anyway.
And he did it all right. I mean, here's another guy that you pretty much had to take him off the field. But when he really started his first season with full season in Green Bay where he played was 2008.
Right.
Favre finished 2007, and Rodgers stepped in 2008, and he's pretty much played. Now, he had 2 years. 2013, he only played in 9 games because of an injury. In 2017 was a year where he was hurt. So he had 2 years. He played 7 games. So he had 2 years of all that where he had legitimate injuries,
right,
where he could not play. But take those 2 years out, that guy played 16 games every year.
And he was also banged up.
And he was banged up.
Well,
This year he had supposedly the broken thumb or the broken finger, and he played through it. And,
And to have a broken thumb and throw the football, I don't even know how he was.
I don't know how he did it.
That kind of, but you knew something was wrong because the guy to go from being so accurate, and even in the early part of the season he was, and then when they said that happened, I think after the second or third game, you seen his accuracy sometimes be off. Well, I don't even understand how you can grip the football.
Rodgers played 15 years, started 15 years. So we were talking about Green Bay and quarterbacks.
That's 30 years of those guys.
So he had 15, and basically Favre started in 1996, 92, and he played till 2007. I believe that would be 16 years. So that's 31 years of the same of 2 quarterbacks.
If you can get 10 out of this guy.
If you get, and so the question's going to be, what's holding the deal up with the Jets in Green Bay is they need to still work out particulars as far as compensation, and then they're going to rework the contract. So, and then I read articles where they're talking about if the Packers pick up more of the contract, then the Jets have to give them more, like a number 1 pick.
Yeah.
But if the Jets pick up more of the contract, they'll give them a 2nd round pick. So they're kind of like they're trying to work out, and there's a dead cap number that's crazy, like $34 million, that they have to work all that out. So they've got to work out the contract, which they were saying they have to get that done, I believe, by Thursday. That because they have to have all their numbers set for the salary cap. When the salary cap comes down, you have to show the NFL what you have. So they have to have this deal worked out this week.
Yeah, and the Jets, if they know they're real close, they definitely got some very good young receivers, but I sure think they'll go after trying to get another veteran for a receiver for them. Something that the Packers really never did for Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, they never would do it. He still had great seasons anyway.
Right.
So the Jets, I think, will be ready to do anything they need because they are on the cusp. That defense is no joke.
No, they've got one of the best defenses in the league.
And I think they just got to upgrade their offensive line some more.
The line's a little shaky. They got to work
injuries.
that.
Yep. But I think they got the potential to be right there.
They've got everything else. The quarterback was the weak part. Reason why they didn't get into the playoffs was the quarterback that held them back.
Yep.
So now they're going to have to get that O-line a little bit figured out. They have the receivers. They've got the defense. Quarterback. So I think they feel that if they can get Rodgers, this is a team, especially think about it for a minute. If Rodgers goes to the AFC, you talk about the conference being loaded with quarterbacks. That's crazy.
Yeah, no.
I mean, think the division alone.
And I mean,
you got Josh Allen.
Yeah, that division.
You'll have Tua.
if he stays healthy,
If he
that
stays
offense,
healthy, they're a good team.
right? Because that offense runs
Offense is right.
through
If
him.
he's
It does.
healthy, as long as he stays healthy, that offense is good offense.
Yep. And it's geared for him.
It's geared. And so then you're going to have that. You got Mac Jones up in New England. He's a good quarterback. I mean, he's still, I think,
still learning, but he's
learning.
He's decent, though.
The problem, I think, is more with Belichick and the system than it is the quarterback.
Yeah, they need more talent.
They need a little bit more talent and maybe better coaching because Matt Patricia's not an offensive coordinator.
And he said it too. If you've seen that interview, I don't know if anybody's seen that when he said, "Hey, I did Coach Belichick a favor because they was trying to figure out who was going to do it, and they was going between him and what's the coach that was in New York? Went back there. Yeah,
Judge.
Judge, and he just said, "You know what? I'll do it." He said, "But that's not my forte."
No.
So, to be back doing what he does, he said he feels much better, but he did it as a favor because it was crunch time. You had to do something. So, that's not what he does.
No, and it showed. That was an unmitigated, that was pretty much a disaster.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones is yelling, at the coordinators and at the coaches. Here you got a second-year kid out of Alabama and a good quarterback. He's yelling and screaming at the coaches like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
And you could tell they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, well, that was which was kind of surprising for me.
Yeah, it is.
For Belichick because I couldn't see him going into the season. Like, I thought he would get somebody. It was guys that were available that are offensive coordinators.
That's what I mean.
Just get someone in there.
Right. Go find an offensive coordinator somewhere.
Now, he went a little bit too far with the New England way that time because...
Oh, no, there's no doubt he did.
Yeah. I mean, that's why when Patricia said, hey, I did a favor. It's not what I wanted to do, but we can't be just, left out to dry like that. So he said, I went on and did it.
And you could tell he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have that comfortability. He said he's done that back in high school thing, but this is the NFL.
Right, this is the NFL.
And it's a lot more complicated of things you got to do.
Right, the defenses are a lot more complex.
Yeah. So, he said, I would, no. He said it is a true statement that offensive coordinators know defense pretty much because they have to find things to devise to beat the defense.
Right.
Same thing with defensive coordinator. But to be in that position, he said it's a different factor. You got to have time. You got to have that camaraderie with your quarterback, knowing each other. He said you can't have all that. You didn't do it before, at this level. So, and he was honest. I didn't hear no backlash from Belichick. They probably had a talk before.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, because he didn't want to do that.
No.
And it made it look bad on Patricia, really did for that. But then again, it doesn't because he says, hey, I'm not an offensive coordinator. I just filled in as that. So I give him something on that.
The New York Giants, when we left the program last week, we're obviously talking about Lamar Jackson being a linchpin of what's going to happen. And now, obviously, you bring up the fact that Detroit had a deal done, and for some reason it didn't go through. Not to say they can't go back and revisit it.
Yeah,
but I think it goes to show you that that Lamar Jackson. I think as time goes by, there's a team out there that's going to. I still think there's a deal out there, and I think Baltimore's going to be looking at a hard fact that some team's going to. I think some team's going to give him a guaranteed deal. I really believe it's going to happen. I know it. You have a lot of reasons not to, and there's a lot of teams that are logically thinking, why would you give a guy who's missed the last two seasons games in the last 5 games of each season and with a knee? But again, I'll just use the fact that we opened the show with what Carolina did to get up to the number 1 pick for Chicago to basically get CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Well, we think it's going to be CJ Stroud. And if they're willing to give up all that draft capital and an all-pro wide receiver in DJ Moore, what's to hold the team back from saying, okay, we can work out a deal and give Lamar Jackson pretty much the guaranteed contract he wants because we need a quarterback. And I keep going back to Washington. They're going to roll into the season with Sam Howell from North Carolina. and you just brought in Eric Bieniemy to be offensive coordinator.
Yep.
I still think that I have a feeling that Daniel Snyder, it won't surprise me that if the Washington Commanders go get the guy, go get Lamar Jackson, sign him up, they'll give away maybe the 2 first-rounders or work out the sign and trade as a first round and 2 seconds and a third, and Baltimore will take it and let Lamar Jackson go to Washington, which might obviously tick off a lot of fans in Baltimore. They're going to be upset.
Oh, yeah.
But I have a bad feeling that I think in a roundabout way, and I could be dead wrong, that the Baltimore Ravens are pretty much willing to let him go.
Yeah. Well, I just think until this quarterback situation is settled, all of them, I think Washington is a quiet but major player. Nobody's thinking because the enemy to accept that job. Are you that desperate to show that you can run a offensive system without Andy Reid? If I'm going to do that, I'm not going to go to a team that has a quarterback that has
Sam Howell.
I mean, you can now if he has a great season, that's going to really look good on your rep, but it's questionable.
Right.
I'm not going to say anything about Sam. It's questionable that's going to happen. I would want to go in and feel a little bit more comfortable with a veteran.
Like a Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and that's why I think Lamar is big time. I think Garoppolo, until all these guys are signed, I think Washington is a player in this stuff. Because I was looking for even Rodgers to go there, but I don't know can't think of the other quarterbacks right now, but they got to get somebody in there, I believe, to give them a veteran presence. They can do well.
Well, there's not a lot out there.
No, I know.
Carr signed with the Saints, so he's off the board.
Yep.
Rodgers looks like he's pretty much going to the Jets.
Yep.
They just have to work out the particulars in the trade compensation and the contract. And, they're just trying to figure out the Packers. They're all going to get together and figure out, we're taking it. I look up the dead cap. I believe it was 40 some odd million. But the point is, I think the Packers and the Jets are going to figure out the way to get the money right, the compensation right, and he's there.
Yeah.
Because he says he doesn't have a problem going there. So I think at the end of the day, it's just the Packers and the Jets, and they may be working out. I would go out to say they've probably been grinding through the particulars of this contract probably since Thursday.
Yeah.
Because I think it's complex because of the money and the cap and the compensation and reworking some of the contract and having Rodgers agreeing with it. But I think at the end of the day, they'll get it figured out. So I think Rodgers will be a New York Jet.
Yeah.
So I think he's out of the formula. It's Garoppolo
somebody else.
And Lamar Jackson, as far as, and I don't mean, there's some guys out there, but as far as top flight quarterbacks that could come in and start, Garoppolo and Lamar Jackson, I believe, are the only 2 left here.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of
any other. I could pull it up to see what other free agents, but I don't think there is.
No. Like I said, if Detroit was thinking of trying to get Lamar Jackson, then that's when our guy Goff becomes a very interesting player for the Washington Commanders.
Carson Wentz is one of them.
Oh yeah, I forgot he is out there.
So
but he just got released from them.
But he just got released from Washington.
So he, they re-sign him, but I mean, that.
Here's your list of free agent quarterbacks, and I'm gonna, again, Brady, but he's retired.
Now you
Wentz,
heard that. Yeah,
we've been hearing rumors
about Brady too.
But Brady coming back, and he's denied them.
Yeah, he's denied.
And I guess at least with Tua being signed to the 5th-year option with Miami, that basically communicates they don't want Lamar Jackson and they don't want Brady.
Right.
So they're off the table as far as.
And that's where I think he would have went.
And I thought too.
San Fran.
Right. Now, rumor has it, stirring, in which we love rumors.
Yep.
Is supposedly San Francisco's looking for a veteran quarterback for 1 year, since they feel that maybe Trey Lance with the ankle may need a little bit more time, and it's like, okay, let's go get Brady. He grew up in that's where he's from, San Mateo, and that's outside of Frisco. That's what he grew up as a fan of the 49ers.
Right.
Let's go get Brady for 1 year, and then maybe he could be the bridge between Brady and Lance. That you could have Brady for 3 or 4 or 5 games, see how the team goes, work Lance into the formula. Or if Brady's winning, you stay with
you just stay
Brady
with him
and then let him go, and then
that's
Lance
next
will be
season.
ready for next year.
Right. That's still a possibility.
So I guess you can't rule that out.
It's all on Brady on that one.
So that's
a
if Brady
possibility.
wants to come back for another year. Marcus Mariota's the other free agent. Baker Mayfield's out there. Sam Darnold is a free agent.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo, we've talked about it. Teddy Bridgewater is a free agent. But now when you start, now there's the drop-off. It's Case Keenum, Mason Rudolph, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, Mike White, Kyle Allen. Now Taylor Heineke, Blaine Gabbert, Chase Daniel. Now you're getting Drew Lock. Now you're getting into the backups.
Yeah.
So, I would say right now, your starters out there, Carr's off the table. I guess, Brady is iffy.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota's a borderline starter.
Yeah,
Baker's a borderline starter. So you realistically, Jimmy Garoppolo is of all the free agents, the only one out there you could say that guy's a starter.
Yeah, he could be a starter. And I think, depending on what you're trying to do, let's say you really love Sam Howell. You can see it.
Well,
but you don't want to start him.
There you go.
Then you got to Kobe Brissett.
Right.
He's perfect for that type of situation. You might get away with Sam Darnold maybe, but Brissett is more, he's a guy that doesn't turn the football over. He doesn't just come in and throw all kind of interceptions all over the place. Neither do Bridgewater.
No, Bridgewater's
They're
going to
perfect bridge quarterbacks. Those guys.
Right.
So you could do that.
Yeah.
You
if you think Sam Howell's your guy.
Yeah. If you think he
and
really
you don't
can
want
see
to
it.
throw him to the Wolves right away
and ruin him.
You sign a Teddy Bridgewater to be the guy
Yeah.
and bring it in, and then maybe Sam Howell starts to develop.
And the reason I don't mention Baker or even Sam Darnold either is because they're younger. And now you got a guy that's young. Why would you do that if you think he's the guy? I'd rather go with the more veteran guy that's been there, that you could say, okay, I could walk away in a year from that guy and now get the guy that I feel that's ready to purge onto the NFL platform. So I would do that. But, I'm sure Baker is looking for a starting position without question.
Yeah, I think he's looking for it. I don't think he's going to get it.
Me either. I think he's going to be a backup somewhere.
That's where he'll end up being.
Yeah, we just got to be, in all honesty, that's where he's gonna be at. And I don't know if he, well, I'm not gonna say, because I thought Geno Smith might have been a career, but that's a guy that kept believing in himself, then got a coach that believed in him, and that's all he needed. And we seen that he was a definitely good starting quarterback for Seattle, and that's why they re-signed him.
The Daniel Jones contract that signed with the Giants. Okay, it's 4 years at $160 million. When you actually look at this contract, and Brady Quinn brought this up on with LeVar Arrington and Jonas Knox show, Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. When you look at the contract, it's really a 2-year deal. Is what it is. That the way the Giants have it now is they can't get rid of him. The year coming up, they would take a dead cap hit of $82 million. But his base salary the first year is only $9 million, and the signing bonus $9 million. The cap hit would be $19 million. The point is, the Giants have potential to go out and sign players and improve that roster. They also, signing Daniel Jones, they were able to use the franchise tag on Saquon Barkley, which was 1 year, $10 million and change. So they'll have Saquon Barkley next year and Daniel Jones.
Right.
And that's what they obviously wanted. But you can't have two. They couldn't franchise tag Jones and Barkley. You can only have one. So they getting the deal with Daniel Jones was obviously where they wanted to go, and then they knew they had that tag they could put on Barkley. So bottom line is, the Giants have him for 2 years. the way this contract works out is he gets $19 million this year, but then in 2023, and then he gets the $45 million the following year, and then the third year, if he obviously stays, he would get $39 million, but the dead cap is only $18 million if they trade him.
Right.
Then after that, after 2020, and when 2026, they have they only take a $9 million cap hit. So the cap hit goes down, and he can basically become expendable after the second and the third year. It's easier. Even the second year, after the second year, it's pretty much they can figure out and move on from him. So it's really not, it's a 4-year deal at 160, but I would say probably this looks like more of the front loaded contract, and then they can get out after 2 years. It's only realistically like a 2-year deal that they sign with him.
Yeah.
And then they'll know what they have.
Right. Yeah, because he showed it.
But he showed a lot this year.
He
made an astronomical jump in his career this year with Dable. Now, some people say, but it's funny that Dable left Buffalo and Allen and the team struggled offensively, and the Giants got Dable, and their offense and the team was really pretty much the same talent.
Yeah.
That much better.
Yeah, but I heard somebody make that comment that Buffalo struggled, and I disagree with that. They played well all season, and I felt after the DeMar Hamlin situation,
that team just
the emotional. People don't understand that's an emotional situation
for the team.
And they started they played in spurts after that, and you couldn't do that against the top echelon team in spurts. You're not going to win. But if you look at that when they came out for the season, they was destroying people like they were before. They played well during the season.
Except they had that one game against Minnesota that will probably haunt them.
Yep.
But where that got away from them.
And then even the Jets beat them. But they still offensively was a juggernaut. They still was very good on offense. I think they definitely need to upgrade some other areas, and they're going to do that this year. I think the offense is fine. I just think
Allen supposedly had the elbow,
against the Jets when he heard it.
And supposedly that lingered on, and he wasn't quite the same quarterback.
Right. I mean, a lot of different situations, but I heard somebody say that, so I don't believe that. And then I started looking at game stats. That offense was tremendous, but I just think Daboll went to New York and instilled in them guys that they can win, how to play together, gave them confidence, and then knowing his own ability to get guys to play well together and teaching them, I just think they improved greatly. But now they got to upgrade some things. So if they get the receivers to go along with some of these holdovers, I think they need to upgrade their receiving core. That they can be a major problem. They got to get the defense and different things like that. But man, upgrade that receiving core, and I think you're gonna have some problems. That's gonna be a great division.
Oh, that division may be one of the best.
Yep.
NFC East could be good.
Yep.
Saturday Morning Sports Page back after a quick timeout.
Hi, it's Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Sandrock Concrete specializes in all types of concrete, driveways, sidewalks, basements, and garages. We also do stamp-colored concrete in many different designs. We do interior and exterior stonework, regular brick and block work. Sandrock Concrete is fully insured. Call Jerry Sandrock at 330-506-0013 for an estimate. Also find them on Facebook at Sandrock Concrete LLC. Sandrock Concrete, where you deal with the owner all the time.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
The Phantoms are back in action at the Cavelli Center March 8th through the 10th. Wednesday, March 8th, the puck will drop at 10:05 for the school day game with plenty of fun during intermissions. Thursday, March 9th, the puck drops at 6:05. Then come join us for Irish Night on March 10th. Wear your green and come cheer on the Phantoms with $2 pints. Great seats are still available. Call 330-747-PUCK. That's 330-747-7825 for tickets or go to youngstownphantoms.com.
Growing metropolis here. That's where we do the studio. We do the show is in studio is in the growing metropolis of Struthers, Ohio. 330-707-4202. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. It is the Saturday Morning Sports Page. We're in the second half of the show. So we've talked really the NFL first half with the quarterback. Also, the big trade that went down, Carolina pretty much giving up, quote, the farm for the number one overall pick in the draft, which they now hold in 2023. And Chicago got DJ Moore, two first round draft picks will come their way, and a second rounder, and I believe a fourth rounder was the other one. So they'll have a lot. They'll get the 9th pick overall in this year, and then they'll get the first round next year. And if you didn't hear it, the first, the Bears traded their number one pick to the Panthers. So now the Panthers are out of the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. They get 4 draft picks and DJ Moore. Mm-hmm. And what they will get is the number 9 pick and a late second round this year. They get a first round next year and then a second round in 2025. So that's a lot. And DJ Moore, an all-pro wide receiver.
That's a haul.
So now Justin Fields will have a Chase Claypool is one, and now he's DJ Moore. That will probably open it up for Chase Claypool. And with DJ Moore in the mix, now all of a sudden,
it's different.
Justin Fields will have some great targets to throw the ball to. And then with these picks, they can get their edge rusher or another lineman and work on the O-line and then getting that. And this is a good draft for edge rushers. A lot of great edge rushers. Not a big difference between these edge rushers out there this year's draft. There's a lot of them. So teams can, you could pick a guy maybe in the second round, and there's not a big difference between him and a first round pick. So you have a great draft if you want the edge rushers. And again, gives you the opportunity to maybe pick up a guy in the later rounds that could end up being, potential all-pro. You never know. But that's one thing about this draft is teams like the Chicago Bears now can get that offensive lineman, maybe get the edge rusher. They're going to
change their team.
They'll get the number 9 pick and the 61st pick in this draft.
Yep.
So they could do pretty good. And they've got their quarterback in Justin Fields. And now they've got DJ Moore, a great wide receiver to match up with him. So the Bears really made out in this trade. And Carolina is getting the quarterback that they obviously won, and they feel it was worth moving up to the number 1 pick and getting the guy who we believe will be C.J. Stroud. Yeah. But we're not 100% sure yet.
Sure
or Bryce Young.
I think I could be 100% sure it's one of those two.
Right.
I feel it's one of those two for sure.
Right.
You know?
I think it will be one of the two. And then I think obviously Anthony Richardson's name keeps popping up as far as one of the other quarterbacks that could potentially be out there. And then, when you break this down, it's going to be I think it's going to be overall a pretty good draft for quarterbacks. You're going to have obviously CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis out of Kentucky is the other quarterback out there that, and Anthony Richardson seemed to be the top 4 quarterbacks. And then after that, then you get a Hooker out of Tennessee, maybe in the mix.
Yeah. And I think if he didn't have
that injury,
I think he would be for some of these guys.
Right.
Because of his ability to just throw the football, which is pretty accurate, and he can run. He's a threat with the ball in his hands at all times. So he's a guy that I would get and stash. I would draft him. He's not going to last. I think he's, regardless of the injury, one thing they say, he interviewed great. Teams love him. I don't think he'll last long. He had the ACL. Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing with that is, okay, so it's an ACL injury. They come back from that. It's not a shoulder. It's not an elbow. It's not a ligament. It's not something that you think could impede his career. ACL, yeah, he's going to be tied up this year coming in. He said he'll be ready, though, for, the season.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the type of guy, though, that you could draft him and ultimately work him into your lineup as the season goes by and get him in a later round. You might pick him up in the second round.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to go past
But I don't think he's going to go past that. He
so.
could be late first round depending on the team and in the situation. How many times have we seen teams overdraft quarterbacks like every year?
Right.
So a team could say he could be in the late. Some team may want him and say they're a late first round and say all of a sudden, we need a quarterback, or, we have a veteran in there, but we want to look at a future. Here's the guy.
Yeah, and I know Pete Carroll loves him.
Well, Geno Smith signed his deal with the
3-year deal.
Seattle for 3 years, got paid big money,
right?
Deserved it, got his deal. Now, if you're Seattle, you're later in the draft and Hooker's available, there's your future. You bring him in, let him learn under Geno.
Yep.
He doesn't have to start this year. He can just ride the bench, learn.
Yep.
And
as long
then
as Geno keep playing well, you keep Geno in there.
You
for
keep
how
Geno.
long you can.
Geno's your guy, but Hooker could be your future, and you could pick him up maybe the second round.
Right.
But that's what I think could happen to him. Is I think he's a first round talent, but because of his injury, he's going to maybe drop to the second round. But then somebody could get a deal.
Yep, I believe that's going to happen, some kind of way. And I just think I wouldn't be surprised. Let's say Houston comes through and but signs Jimmy Garoppolo. I still think they might draft Bryce Young, because when they said they looked at him, his height may not get taller, but his body can get even thicker. And he's already done that from being 190, 188 to 190. He at the combine, he was 204.
Right.
That's putting on a lot of decent muscle mass. So, and they said he could still fill out some more. So you get him there where he's be ready to get that body up to snuff, he could do everything else. And as long as he can find those throwing lanes like your Russell Wilsons and your Drew Brees and these guys have been able to do, when you really think of it, nobody thought, you don't think of it with Michael Vick, but Michael Vick was just barely 6 foot.
Yeah, he was.
He was just 6 foot.
Barely, yeah.
And all these guys could throw the football. So if he can do that, it's a perfect scenario. Garoppolo a couple of seasons, and then you got a number 1 draft choice that you can't hang on the bench too long, because not as a number 1 guy.
No,
but
you
he'd be
could
a perfect fix for it.
You could work him in. You see,
but that's all up to Garoppolo. You might not want to go there thinking they'll do that. Whereas the Raiders, he go there.
We
he
see
could
that's
be
the
guy.
other team right now. When you look at certain teams that are really kind of almost outside looking in, you figure Rodgers is to the Jets. That's just working the nut and bolt out of the compensation and the contract and kind of working through that as we talked. But Rodgers will be a New York Jet, I believe, unless something radically happens. But the Packers are moving on. They've actually come out and said it, that they gave him the permission to talk to the Jets. It's all cool, and they're willing to pretty much move on. So that's just working out of the contract guts and the compensation, and they'll figure it out probably. And they will have to get it done this week. So you figure he's off the board. Then the only other, you got Garoppolo on the board, and you got Lamar Jackson out there. But they're the only two quarterbacks really, quote, out there that are starters. We ran through the list of the other guys, and for the most part, Carson Wentz is the type of guy I think that a team could bring in as a backup, and then potentially, I still think he could be a potential starter. His problem is he keeps getting moved out, and he's under different coordinators every year and learning new systems. And his defense, I think that's been a challenge to the point where if he was stuck with one offensive coordinator and one team for a while, I think he could actually show you he could be a pretty good quarterback. So again, when you break down starters, Garoppolo and Lamar Jackson are the only two starters out there that haven't been signed. But now the Raiders are looking to and then San Francisco is potentially looking for that veteran because their problem, Brock Ewert, is basically not Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is going to be laid up. He's going to have the surgery. It's 6 months. He may not be ready till October. Trey Lance, he's getting over that bad ankle injury. Will he be ready to go right away? So will they need that quarterback to fit, to get them maybe through the first half of the season? What are they going to do? And we keep bringing up Brady's name, but I think Brady's done and finished. I think he's retired. He's moving on. So San Francisco can be in a kind of precarious situation until Trey Lance is up and running. And, Trey Lance hasn't played a lot of football in 5 years. So you got to sit and look at him and say, okay, how ready will he be and how good will he be? So I think the Packers are moving on with Jordan Love. We talked about that briefly, but they're willing to move on with Rodgers and I think go with Jordan Love to see what they have.
Right. Well,
but the Raiders are the team.
Yeah.
What are you going to do for quarter? Is Stidham going to be your guy? You're going to roll out there.
He's not on contract.
So he's not on. He's not on
the roster. They
is he a free?
Him.
Let me
he should
see
be a free agent.
I got to look him up.
I thought I heard that he was not on their salary right now, and they could re-sign him.
Well, there's Gardner Minshew is a free agent.
Now
Jarrett Stidham's a free agent.
Yeah. So they don't have I think they got a young guy. I forgot who it is. It's on the roster. They're not going with that guy. And if
they need a quarterback.
They need a quarter. And this is the thing. Don't think Devontae Adams is not listening to see who you're getting. Because if you don't get anybody and you got to just re-sign Stidham, even though they start to get a little rapport, I still think that if he can get out of it, he'll try to get traded. And he's not going to stand in that,
No, he's not going to. No, he's
with
not
a non-veteran guy.
I think that
established guy.
I agree with you. I think if you're the Raiders and the best you're going to do is Jarrett Stidham, if you're Devontae Adams, you want out.
Yeah. And they did get rapport. I don't know how you feel about Stidham. He might be like, okay, I could go with him. But right now, as that roster stands, if they don't get a guy, I think he's going to be trying to get out of there.
Washington needs a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. Atlanta probably needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
Well,
they might feel okay with.
Do they feel?
What's his name out of Cincinnati?
The kid from Cincinnati.
Rick,
what is his name? We'll
Starts
pull it
with
up
a
here.
R.
We'll get it. Or I guess that's the problem though. Is Atlanta going to be that comfortable with?
Yeah, because I don't know what they feel about, but they did. I know they like him, but what was their last synopsis of whether they would go in the season with him, I don't know. But evidently, to let Mariota go, they must be feeling pretty good about him. We know he's a mature guy for sure, and being a starter like that down in Cincinnati for that long, I think he's going to have every
Desmond
opportunity.
Ridder.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, I guess, is Atlanta 100% comfortable rolling out going into the season with Desmond Ridder as your guy?
Yeah.
You let Mariota go. Are you comfortable? Will they re-sign Mariota, maybe keep him there or bring him in for a year? And then, here's the other thing that's out. Michael Lombardi, I've been hearing this, and has come out and basically says that the Rams are actively shopping their quarterback.
You talking about Stafford?
Stafford is on the market. Okay. They're trying to trade him. They can't. Evidently, he's got this brutal contract paying him over $50 million. And rumor has it that he's not that injury. He's still got a problem with the elbow. Mm-hmm. His injury is still lingering, and he may not even be ready for the season. And they don't even know the effect that injury is going to have long-term on his ability to throw the ball.
Right.
And he's come out, he said it on his wife's podcast, that he's not retiring.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, potentially he's out there. He's 35 years old. He's got that, injury supposedly, but what hurts his ability or is going to hurt the Rams' ability is the fact that his contract is just, it's going to be really hard to move Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it this year. They would take a cap hit of 49, dead cap hit of $49 million if they want to trade him, which is, you can't do that. I mean, that's right. So they want to get, rumor has it, he's supposedly on the market to be traded, but there aren't a lot of takers because of the cap situation.
Yeah.
And his contract. So now your situation is going to be, if you're trying to trade him and consider trading Matthew Stafford, there's just basically no team out there that can really afford him. And now there's the question with his injury.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if,
And then what would the Rams do for a quarterback? Is Baker going to be there? Do they roll out with Baker, or do they re-sign Baker Mayfield, do a deal?
Yeah.
If indeed it's true that supposedly Matthew Stafford has been on the trading block and they are shopping him, but evidently there aren't a lot of teams that want to take on that contract. Mm-hmm. And the potential injury that seems to be kind of lingering.
Yeah, we'll know that's going to something might linger until April or May.
There was this is on SB Nation. Matthew Stafford trade. Rams have called other teams per the report, and they've called other teams. They would love to trade Matthew Stafford, but again, they're calling the teams, and a lot of teams, but the teams aren't calling them.
Right.
So then you have to look at it as this is according to Michael Lombardi. Jalen Ramsey and Leonard Floyd may not be the only big names the Rams are trying to trade.
Well, Floyd got released yesterday.
He got released yesterday. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now you got Jalen Ramsey. Now I know they want to shop him because they want to get a first-round pick for him because right. They don't have any draft capital because they gave it all up to get Matthew Stafford.
Right.
So they're looking to trade him, but they can't. I don't think there's a lot of teams interested.
Yeah, Dallas was interested, but I don't think they want to give up a first round.
Well, that's the whole thing. Lombardi made waves by saying the Rams would love to trade Stafford, and they have been actively calling teams. Mm-hmm. So the question's going to be if they can trade him. It said here, Matthew Stafford is fully available. Matt Stafford, they're trying to trade. This is Michael Lombardi. They would love to trade him, but they can't do it because he's got $57 million guaranteed. His contract, Mike believes, is $26 million of an option bonus on the third day of the league year, and he's got $31 million in a paragraph for paragraph 5 on the third day of the league year. All of this is guaranteed money. He has $57 million coming to him no matter what. So that's why Stafford's not retiring. I also heard this again because Brady Quinn does a great job breaking down contracts. He had said this too. Stafford's not going anywhere because he's due $57 million. So he's got all that guaranteed money, and the team wants to trade him. They've got to take that on.
Yeah.
Unless the Rams can work out that in a trade.
Yeah.
So that rumor's out there. Is Stafford available, but who wants it because of the money? That's why I think this draft is going to get real interesting because these quarterbacks, remember, these rookie quarterback comes back rookie deals. They're relatively cheap. That's why Tua contract was picked up the 5th year because it's only $24 million, $23 million.
Mm-hmm.
They got to pay him. That's a deal.
Yeah. Yep.
When Daniel Jones is signing a 4-year, $160 million contract, and the Giants don't want to come out and say, yeah, we should have picked up his 5th-year option. We bet against that he wouldn't do that good. Well, now we needed him. And if we would have picked up the 5th-year option, we would have saved a lot of money.
Yeah, by not picking him, he was able to go somewhere else if he wanted to, and somebody would have picked him up.
Right.
So you had to try to keep him in-house, and now you're paying the piper, as they say.
Exactly.
Yep.
You took the gamble. You didn't want his 5th-year option because you didn't think he was that good, and then he played a great season. He gambled on himself and won that gamble. Yep. Now you had to pony up and pay him.
And what it showed is you got an offensive guy in there,
right,
with a very good knowledge of football and has a track record of doing well with many good quarterbacks, even in college. So
exactly,
you had to go with that. I would have just went with it to pick up the 5th-year option with that, knowing the type of coach I got, instead of being locked into this situation that you have now.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have had to look at that until next year.
Right.
Because he would have been playing under his 5th year.
You would have got him the 5th year. You would have had him.
Yep.
Then you wouldn't have to worry about the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could have worked out a deal with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Potentially long-term, a friendly contract.
Right. And then that gives him 2 years.
Right.
You'll make him be in that prove it mode, which makes him to even play even harder
for another year.
Yeah, to decide to get that long-term contract. But that's hindsight.
That's the gamble, and they did. Obviously, didn't work out for the Giants. I mean, hindsight tends to be 20/20, and that's what happened.
Yep.
But when you're breaking out these quarterbacks, and you see that, I mean, the reality with quarterbacks, we talk a lot about it on our show about NFL quarterbacks, because the reality is in the NFL, you're not going to win. I don't care who your coach is. If you don't have the quarterback, you're not going to win a lot of games in the NFL. Yeah. Look at the teams that win the Super Bowls, that win or in the AFC or NFC title conference games. They usually have pretty good quarterbacks.
Yep.
And you don't win a lot of football games without a good quarterback. I mean, Shanahan does a lot with, maybe average quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, Purdy took him a long way as being really a backup, but he had a good system. But the point is, rule of thumb, when you look at quarterbacks, you don't have the good quarterback, you're not going anywhere. What's going to happen with Burrow, Todd, and Justin Herbert when their contracts come up? What are the Bengals going to do? What are the Chargers going to do with those guys?
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals want to keep T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. I don't think they can do it unless Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow walk into the owner's office and says, okay, and the agents work and say, let's work out a deal, a very team-friendly deal for all, so you keep all of us, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think it all lands on Joe Burrow because it's up to him. He can go in there with an idea like Patrick Mahomes did, saying, hey,
10 year.
I want to keep my team mainly together. So
spread it out
so it doesn't get these hits on it, and I can keep most of my personality. Yes, they lost Tyreek Hill, but they didn't really lose a beat. They lost that big play type of, like, just instantly big play type, but they were able to do it a different way. They had big plays here and there, but they they moved the football. They moved the chains and continued to move that football, and they got to the Super Bowl in that way. So they showed a different manner than always the big play. So they were able to do it. Not all teams are able to do that, but that's what Joe Burrow needs to do. Go in there with a friendly type thing where I can sign both of them. Or you're gonna lose one. It's probably gonna be Higgins, because Higgins will go and will be a number one
somewhere.
Because it's really not a 1 and a 2. That's 1A and 1B.
Yeah, you got two.
And you can flip them. And you can flip them because some days, depending on what the coverage is, it's Higgins all day, and he catches everything too. In traffic, whatever, deep, he can do it all. So it's a lot of teams interested in him. They're waiting for that situation anyway. They're going to pounce on one of those guys so fast, it's not even funny. If they can't keep him, but they got to do something to try to keep that nucleus together. I just really think.
Yeah, I think they will. Strong. I mean, I think they're going to try now. Whether or not a lot of it's going to come down, like you said, I think to Burrow, and you get Burrow in, see what kind of a deal. If you can get him a longer term deal, like a 10-year deal, I know you could make it for $459 million or whatever you want to throw in, but you can. It seems when you read about these contracts in the NFL, they do a lot of. They can hide money, but they can put it as guaranteed bonuses, and it doesn't count against the cap.
Right.
And they can be creative. And the longer the years, the more creative they can get, because they can backload, front load, put money different ways, and then they can always renegotiate contracts.
Right.
And the team has flexibility of playing around with the money, sort of to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see maybe the Bengals doing that, and Burrow being hopefully, agrees to it, but then that opens up the door to at least keep Chase. I don't know if they're going to be that creative enough to keep Higgins and Chase, because you still need to get linemen and other players. So it's going to be hard to throw all the money on 3 players. I think they're going to be challenged getting 2 of them in, and you got to keep Burrow. He's the quarterback, and then of what you can do with can you keep a Chase?
Right.
And again, I think Higgins, unfortunately, is going to probably, then you trade him, and can you get a first-round pick for Higgins, which you might be able to? That could happen too. So we'll see how this plays out. But same thing with the Chargers with Herbert. They're going to have to pay him. He's the guy. And then can they do it in the friendly, team-friendly, where you can kind of make it a longer-term deal, guarantee the money, but you do it over a period of time and open up more money for other players.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what going to have to do. I mean, that's what these quarterbacks do. I mean, I even looked at where Andrew Berry's Watson has came and said, hey, they can do something with his contract. Now, people say, oh, that's great, but it's not that he's losing money.
No.
He's going to get his guaranteed
he gets his money.
But they're going to switch some things so they can sign people, because he's an ask for DeAndre Hopkins. He wants him there in Cleveland.
That's what
and if they get a guy like that, and then I forgot to
because now is Hopkins a free agent?
I
got to look it up, because I
don't know if he's a free agent, but I know that Arizona's looking they're shopping. So
we'll find out. We'll come back after a quick timeout. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, Saturday Morning Sports Page, Western Reserve Radio.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Let's be real. The odds of a high school athlete getting a college scholarship and making it to the pros are pretty slim. Don't get me wrong. It's okay to dream of becoming a pro athlete, even a famous one. But that's not why I play. My reason why? I love the competition.
My reason why is community.
My reason why is leadership.
My reason why is to challenge myself.
My reason why is love for the game.
And hey, if we don't make it to the pros or onto the cover of Sports Illustrated, that's okay. Because there's every reason to believe we'll excel in something even bigger than sports. We'll excel in life.
There are lots of great reasons to play high school sports. Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. I don't know if this is breaking news, but at least the update on Aaron Rodgers, Dave Clark, is
600,000 away from clearing enough to be able to get Aaron Rodgers under that cap number they need.
So they need to get him under a cap number with the contract.
Right.
You know, this, i.e., they've agreed on the compensation. We don't know what it is, but you could probably make the assumption that the Packers and the Jets have agreed on everything package-wise as far as contract and compensation, whatever draft picks. And now it's less like $600,000 in trying to wiggle out what the Jets have to do to get Rodgers signed under the cap. So they're reworking the contract. And there's like a $600,000 gap, which with pro football is nothing.
I mean, only way I see this falling through is something that we don't know of.
Yeah, and they don't know.
And they don't know something.
Because, something would have to be
nothing
in there that they don't know, they haven't foreseen, and would prevent this.
And you might get a veteran guy that's there, ready to win. He wants to win. They will say, hey, reconstruct my contract.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even take where they get released and have an agreement that, hey, I'm going to re-sign you back
for $600,000 less. I mean, they could, if it's only $600,000 between Rodgers becoming a Jet, you know that deal's done. Now it's like almost dotting an I and crossing a T left.
Yeah.
If it's only $600,000.
Shed another $600,000. I said, wow.
So
that's all they got to do.
In all probability,
flash back up.
Yeah. In all probability, probably by Monday or sooner, they'll have this deal done.
Yeah. I mean, if it's that close, I mean, it's like I said, it has to be something really crazy, or that they don't, or like you said, don't know of. Once they look, they didn't account for something, and then they see, oh, we can't do it that way.
But you know, they've got, in all probability, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they've got the league office looking at everything and making sure that they're in line with the cap, and they've got all the eyes on it, and it's probably got lawyers and everybody.
They got to check everything,
checking everything, but. In all probability, they're just a $600,000 gap there that the Jets have to clear off their books. And so now they just go back, and you said they may go to a couple players and say, we're going to rework a deal here. You'll get this later or whatever. And
if a guy's willing to do that.
And I'm sure they will.
Especially if the guy's close, he wants to win. He's a vet. I mean.
You're going to want, you're going to want Aaron Rodgers on your team.
Well, it's too many defensive guys.
Right.
They may not say it, but you can't tell me. If I'm playing that team, I'm not going to criticize my quarterback. But if I know that we're losing because of their play, it's going to be I want to get a guy in there that I don't have to look over my shoulder and worry about all the time. You know, it's not that what you call us a god or anything, Robert, but we're looking at his track record. And we know that he's one of the best quarterbacks that ever played. So I'm going to be a little bit more confident. Not even a little bit. A lot more confident with a guy like that.
You've got all the players realizing if you get Aaron Rodgers on your team, all of a sudden now you're in a discussion for playoffs and potentially you can compete for a Super Bowl potentially, but you're going to go to a different level. Look how close they were last year, not getting into the playoffs, realizing the only thing that held them back was a quarterback.
Right.
And Woody Johnson, the owner's already come out and said, we'll do whatever we have to purse-wise.
Right. And I think the Jets make the playoffs.
Right.
If was durable enough to stay healthy, and Mike White.
Mike White was healthy. They probably get in the playoffs.
That guy was banged up.
Because he was playing good. He was trying to play hurt. You could tell he wasn't 100%. If they have a Rodgers, that could be the difference. And I think the deal is going to get done a lot sooner than later. In the NFL, you know what? This is what the NFL will do. They're going to wait till Sunday, Selection Sunday. They're going to announce the Selection Sunday in Trump college basketball.
They may, because what's the perfect lead into this week in free agent frenzy, as they call it? Perfect.
Right.
With a Aaron Rodgers
Hall
trade.
of Fame quarterback, potential Hall of Fame will be a Hall of Fame quarterback going to the biggest media market in the country, going to the Jets.
And I'm gonna be honest. In my opinion, Aaron Rodgers is better than Brett Favre. And the reason I say that
didn't throw the interceptions at Brett Favre, certainly.
That's it, because I like the moxie of Brett Favre. But he was a guy that will turn it over, a lot of
picks,
because he's trying to, with that big arm, he's trying to fit it in every window there is. Whereas Aaron Rodgers is a little bit more careful with the football. Yeah, he had interceptions this year, but we know he was definitely injured.
He was hurt.
If he's healthy, he's usually very good with the football.
Career interception, Aaron Rodgers had 100. Career interceptions for Aaron Rodgers at 105. Okay.
Over
since he started, which is say 2008, although he did throw an interception in 07-1 when he played. But the point is, say since 2007 to 2020, 16 years, he's had 105 interceptions. You break it down and start dividing it out, you pretty much
6 point something per season.
Right.
So 7, let's say 7 a year.
Compared to Brett Favre had 336. More than 3 times the interceptions.
Right.
And pretty much.
I love Brett Favre. I loved how he played. He put it all out there.
Brett Favre played in 302 games. And Aaron Rodgers has played into 230 games. Now, obviously, Favre played in more games because he played a little bit longer. And Aaron Rodgers still probably has a couple more seasons left, and he might get up to 260. But Favre had 302 games, but he just threw a lot more picks than Rodgers did. Rodgers had a bad year last year. He had 12. He normally doesn't do that.
Right. He doesn't even usually hit double digits.
No, he usually doesn't. When you
break
break down Aaron Rodgers' career, this is what part that blows you away with interceptions. The last time he threw double-digit interceptions was 2010. He had 11. 2008, which was realistically his first full year in the league, he threw 13 interceptions. After they are the only 2 other seasons that he had double-digit. Every season, it's always been single-digit interception until last year.
That's insane.
That's absolutely insane. When you look at Aaron Rodgers' interceptions, he just isn't throwing them.
Yep. And the year that he threw 10, which was 2010, is that the year they went to the Super Bowl?
2010. He threw 11. Yeah, he threw 11. That was the year, I believe, 2010. They went. Yes. Yes, 2010 they went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. That was the year they won the Super Bowl.
So-
That would be right. And he threw 10.
That's
11.
11.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
But the
That's
point
ridiculous.
is, taken.
I mean, I'll be jumping up and down about my quarter. That's all you threw?
Right.
10? In
That's
the
it.
season, 11?
Last year was his worst season. He had 12. That was his worst season ever with interception, and he had that hand. He had that hand. He broke something in that hand. Yeah, he wasn't the same. You could tell. The Jets have to be just waiting. They'll get this deal done. They'll wait till Selection Sunday tomorrow and make the announcement that he's going to the New York Jets. $600,000 is easy. If that's the only holdup on that deal, the $600,000, as we're reading off of the ticker on ESPN.
Yeah, that's
then
all I need to see.
If that's where we're at,
Yeah, they there.
that deal's done. So Aaron Rodgers will be a New York Jet. The Packers roll out with Jordan Love, obviously, and start a new era there. But then you still have teams out there, for the sake of argument, don't really have a quarterback. That's going to be the Raiders. And I don't know what they're going to do for a quarterback. They're out of the Rodgers situation. Rodgers is off the table. Does Garoppolo? Do they go after Garoppolo?
Or do you bring Mariota back?
Or Washington now they've been the underlier. No one's paying any attention to Washington, but they really need a quarterback. You didn't hire Eric Bieniemy to bring
that right.
I still think Lamar Jackson's going to end up there. I could be dead wrong.
But wouldn't it be funny if that Lamar Jackson ended up a Raider too? If
Could you imagine Lamar Jackson staying in the AFC as a Raider, and then potentially you would have Jackson staying in the AFC, but now you have Rodgers in the AFC? I mean, and then maybe does Garoppolo end up somewhere in the AFC?
Yeah, that'd be something.
If he does sign supposedly with Houston, I don't know if that's going to happen. But the point is,
the overload would be unbelievable.
The overload in the quarterback would be unheard of.
Yeah, because I mean, I just think you got, like you said, you got the top guys and Burrow and Mahomes and all these guys, and I really think Watson is going to get back up in the discussion this season. I really do. I think he's going to.
Oh yeah, I think
get back. You can see some of it, flashes of it, but he's been out too long.
Right.
But I think he'll be in a rhythm. He's going to have a whole off season to go through all the things. I think that's going to be a different quarterback. And if they upgrade, keep their running game as they have.
Keep Chubb.
That's one guy.
They have the draft. Well, they won't have a first rounder, but they'll still, with the other rounds, pick up players and develop. But the point is,
and the guy wants to go after a lot of free agents. So let's see what they're going to do. That's going to be interesting.
A very interesting thing with Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, when you break it down and you start breaking out all these quarterbacks, the AFC, as you said, will be overloaded with talent. Now Rodgers is probably going to be a New York Jet.
Yep. And even the quarterback in Pittsburgh,
Pickett.
You've seen the great improvement.
You see, he started where he's
from where he started to where he ended the season.
And Kenny Pickett improved.
You've seen a lot of improvement.
Came close to a playoff.
Yeah.
Did go out. They won a lot of. I mean, what did they win? 6-7 in a row to keep Tomlin's record intact. 9-8 winning record. So Pittsburgh came to really improved as the season went on significantly.
Yep.
So you had a team there going into this season. If you're a fan of Pittsburgh, you got to be pretty happy because you just had a quarterback showed a lot of development. The team improved. The offensive line got better. And again, Pickett started to make the passes when he need to. The Raider game on that Saturday night, he made the one throw that he needed for the touchdown to win the game.
Yep.
I mean, you could just see a team is coming here. So you've got a situation in the AFC. You're going to have a lot of good young quarterback, rookie quarterback. And what's nice, he's got the rookie quarterback deal, gives the team a lot more flexibility to go out and sign other players to continue to improve the team.
Yep.
So when you break it down, when you have a rookie quarterback who's performing very well, it's like anything. Anytime you have a player outperforming the contract, it's going to help the team. The worst thing you can have is a player underperforming the contract.
Yeah,
that's what hurts the team. But when you get like a rookie, like a Kenny Pickett playing really good, and he's on that rookie deal,
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen because now you're freeing up. You have other money to spend. So as you look at, and I think Watson's going to be a lot better because he'll have a year with full year with Stefanski. Played, you could see him developing as the season went on after being out for 2 years.
Right.
So you will see an improvement with Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh is obviously going to be improved. You got Burrow. Baltimore could be actually outside looking in there. You know,
if they
Huntley could be the starter, or do they make some kind of a move, or do they draft one of these quarterbacks?
Yeah,
they may have to.
See, before it used to be after the Super Bowl, this big lull for a little bit. Then we have our draft,
right,
and then a big lull. Then the training camps,
right,
mini camps and training camp. But that's not what the NFL is no more. There's no off.
No, there's no off
it's
season.
It's straight through. It's always something going on.
No.
Big things happening constantly. You can talk NFL the entire year. There's no off.
It never. I mean, the NFL, because of the way it's structured, is to the point now it's 12 months. You can make the argument there's really no. Maybe February a little bit right after the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but
a couple weeks maybe.
A couple weeks. But once March hits, and these free agents, and we've spent it's 10. We're almost 13 minutes left of the show. We've talked NFL and the quarterback situation almost pretty much. We have the entire show.
Yeah.
I mean, because
there's college basketball.
You got college basketball,
NBA.
You got NBA
on a streak.
Right. Durant's hurt.
Yep.
He's not now supposed. Durant hurt his ankle. They believe he's going to miss the rest of the season, and they're hoping he's ready for the playoffs. So that throws, the Phoenix Suns all of a sudden now. You hope Durant's going to be ready. You don't know.
Right.
But that throws that team all into a mix. Dallas, you got all right. The problem you have with Kyrie doesn't play defense. You traded, Dorian Finney-Smith, your best defender, really good. Now the problem is the teams playing Dallas, their average shooting percentage is 52% because there's no defense.
Right. And now Luka's injured.
Luka's hurt. Luka doesn't play defense. No. Kyrie's not much on defense. So the problem is Dallas can score, but they can't stop anybody.
Right. And now the Nets, when they made this trade, I think the first few games they got blown out a couple.
Yeah, they got.
Now they are beating teams.
Right.
They got a nice nucleus, young nucleus, and you found that Bridges is more than just a fringe player in Phoenix. This guy's putting up 40 and 30 something every night. That means he could have scored like that, but he wasn't a major part of their offense.
He was behind Devin Booker.
Yep. And he started along with him, but he was the guy that didn't get his shots like that.
Right.
So
the Brooklyn Nets are sitting in the 6th spot, a half a game behind the New York Knicks in the 5th spot, which is a story until we even get to the Knicks. Emmanuel quickly played an unbelievable game the other night against the Celtics in a double overtime win in Boston. Just an unbelievable player. And Emmanuel Quickly was a find for the New York Knicks. They got him in the 2nd round, and now the last articles, they can't figure out how to keep him. They're going to have to figure out his contract. I think they will, but he's an unbelievable. He's developing into a great player.
And they almost traded him.
I know.
At one time, he's a part of a trade, and they held on, and they better be glad they held on.
No, they're glad to hold on because he played. Brunson was hurt against the Celtics. He didn't play. And Emmanuel Quickly not only stepped up, he played his best game, had 38 points in a double overtime win against the Celtics. A Knicks fan like me, I'm like watching the Knicks getting flashbacks.
Yeah.
Old flashbacks.
Yeah. So
again with Reed, Frazier, Monroe, etc.
Barnett,
1973 flashbacks. They had it was on YouTube. I watched it. They had a 50th 50th year anniversary of the 73 NBA title the Knicks won, and they had it at Madison Square Garden, and they had all the Knicks there, and Willis Reed couldn't be there, but he was on Skype. And they brought him in, and Frazier was there, and Barnett was there, Monroe was there, and all the players on the 73. Unfortunately, Hawthorne Wingo had passed,
Right.
and Dave DeBuscher had passed, so they had their, I believe their sons were there.
There for that.
And Dean Miminger. Dean Miminger has passed, but his son was sitting with Dave DeBuscher's son as they were going through the...
Dean Miminger. Out of Marquette.
Out of Marquette. He had the long arms. Dean Miminger had the longest arms. He was 6'1", and his defense was unbelievable because he'd stick to the person, but he had those long arms and knock the ball away and defend and guard the inbound guy with the long arms, and he was just a nightmare on defense.
Yep.
Dean the Dream.
Yep.
Played for Marquette, Allie McGuire. Actually went to a game. I was so lucky. In 1970, we got the NIT, which was a really big tournament back then.
Yeah.
I got
big
to
as the NCAA.
Big. It was.
Yeah.
Final four in the Garden was Marquette played LSU. St. John's played Army, and Bobby Knight was the Army coach, and they lost the game because it was Lapchek's last season to coach St. John's, and they called a phantom foul on Army and sent the St. John, I think the guy's name was Dupree. They sent him to the free throw line. He hit 2 free throws. They won by 1 point. Bobby Knight was having a conniption on the sideline. Deservedly so. That was that game. And then Marquette was playing Maravich and LSU, and they just shut Maravich down. They had got Miminger was on that team, and a guy named Gary Brell. This guy was 6'2", and he was just like this guy. He was just mean defender, tough guy, rebounder, and he was like 6'2", 6'3", but guy could play. And then Miminger was just unbelievable player. Dean the Dream.
Yep.
Great player. But the point is that's what the NIT was big. Speaking of that, St. John's has fired their coach, and now it looks like Rick Pitino is who they're after. So the St. John's, it was I read it off ESPN, that Pitino is the lead candidate for the St. John's position. He's currently coaching Iona.
Yeah, get him back in there.
Oh, and you know what is? For all the baggage Pitino has, the guy's a great coach.
Yeah, I know.
And he's going to win.
And that's in his element.
That's it.
In the
That's
New York
right up.
area,
Yep.
it's the perfect element
Yep.
where Rick Pitino
Right,
needs to be.
Rick. You put Rick Pitino on that team as the head coach, he is going to win games, and he's going to recruit, and now with the transfer portal, Rick Pitino will have those guys. That will be a team next year.
Yeah.
St. John's Rick Pitino is going to have a great team. They will. They're going to be tough.
Yep. Well, he'll get it together.
Yep. Because he can coach like, again, he's got his fair share of baggage, but bottom line, though, is when it comes to coaching teams and winning, Rick Pitino is one of the best coaches out there.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So
I just seen another flash. Is just said about Mark Murphy. Now I don't know what is Murphy now with is he?
Oh, the Packers.
Yeah, he just said he's fighting.
What is he doing
with everything with tooth and nail? It said to keep our guy Aaron Rodgers in a Packers uniform. So what did that all mean? I don't know. I'm waiting for it to come back through.
What are they having second thought?
Well, I mean, they say he is. I don't think they're not saying the brass of the Packers. I'm thinking it's just him. But what is he? He used to be a long time ago. I know he used to be a player personnel guy, and I don't know what he does for the team now. What is his exact position now? But he said he's wanting Aaron Rodgers to stay.
Mark CEO.
He's the CEO. Okay.
Packers CEO Mark Murphy can see Aaron Rodgers returning if things don't work out. I mean, now he's saying Mark Murphy says Packers would trade him if Aaron asks for one. But then they said Packers president says that Aaron Rodgers' return is not a top option of the team. So what is going on with the Green Bay Packers? I mean, what is this?
I think that, I wonder if all this stuff is just...
Is there a potential in the Green Bay Packer hierarchy? There's like this dividing line. Some of the guys want him out, and then Murphy wants to keep him, but the other maybe the other guy,
something's going on.
Maybe Brian, what's his name, Gutekunst,
Mm-hmm.
wants to trade him. The Packers president doesn't seem to be that interested in keeping him.
It's crazy.
But then they're talking about, but here it is, President Mark Murphy did not rule out the possibility of Rodgers returning.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's just like the NFL. This is the, and then like I said, it also goes into what you said. Perfect little thing, so we can have a big story going on.
That's what it is.
So we can have a big splash with free agent frenzy, and Aaron Rodgers can lead it off, being traded to the New York Jets, the biggest market in
the country.
In the country.
Because that's where you're headed here.
Yep.
That's exactly where this is going to go.
This is fun. You'll have a lot to talk about.
Well, next week is going to be a circus because we're going to have obviously college, the play-in games, and the tournament starts this week.
Yeah, because Selection Sunday is this Sunday.
This Sunday, Selection Sunday, we have to spring ahead, turn up the clocks, which I heard they want to keep that year round. They're trying to get that passed.
I heard that last year, and I wondered.
And then
it
died. Evidently, it got passed in the Senate, but not by the House of Representatives. But this year, they're going to reintroduce it again. It was Marco Rubio is now putting it in front of everybody to say, let's just do this once, and this is the last time.
And then we'll stay with.
We're going to stay this time.
Pull it ahead and then just leave it.
Right, leave it.
Yeah,
and
I'd rather have longer daylight.
Right, you're going to have
anyway,
a longer daylight at night, and you're going to have dark mornings.
Yeah,
you're going to just have it'll be late. It won't get light until 9 o'clock during the winter. In the morning, it won't get dark. It won't get light till 9. But then again, you're going to have the advantage of
longer days,
longer days, and won't get dark until you get till 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Technically, these are at least the NCAA. Real quick, these teams are last four in, according to Joe Lunardi. Mississippi State, NC State, Pittsburgh, Arizona State are last four in. First four out are Oklahoma State, Nevada, Clemson, Vanderbilt. The next four out would be Wisconsin, North Carolina, Oregon, and Michigan. So it looks like they're out, according to Joe Lunardi. The last four byes are Penn State, Providence, Utah, and Rutgers. However, The Ohio State University, they could be the one that's going to take somebody's spot. If the Ohio State wins today against Purdue and then wins tomorrow with an 8, they would be 18-18. They get in. If they win the Big Ten, they get in. Is obviously and then obviously somebody who's in is out.
Right.
I don't know who that is,
but they'll be out of there. Though.
Someone's out if Ohio State wins out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he came into that 13-18. He'll win 5 in a row. No team's ever done that, ever.
Yeah.
In fact, no number 13 seed has ever made it to the Final Four in the Big Ten tournament ever. He's the first person to do it. Obviously, they want to win. Ohio State wants to win out and get the. Yeah. They're going to have to win to get in. They don't. If they lose, they're out.
Yeah, and they probably will be one of the leading teams going to the NIT if that happened anyway now.
I don't know if they can get in because they'll be under 500.
Oh,
but
yeah, that is true.
They may not.
True.
So
yeah, they may not.
We'll talk next week. Saturday Morning Sports Page. Stay safe. Do not drink and do not drive. Buckle up. Stay safe.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge, a part of the Sports Map Radio Network.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops, the rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets, and they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopRex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, it's Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
It's a gauntlet. So he leaves the NFC, and it suddenly becomes Philadelphia, who's got all these salary cap issues and lose 2 coordinators and the Super Bowl loser hangover, right? And so suddenly this NFC, can you put San Francisco? Can you plug them into the Final Four? I don't know. Is Trey Lance going to be the guy? I know Purdy's recovered from the surgery. It's very strange, though. Football players don't get Tommy John. So I mean, he did very well last year. All those starts at Iowa State helped, but it's wide open. I think the Rams are going to be barren for a couple of years. I'm not big on Arizona. The NFC North is certainly very interesting. The NFC South, now the Saints become the favorite, but what's Atlanta going to do? Is Dallas finally going to have a team that can win a couple playoff games? Is Dak ever going to be a winner there? My vote's no. I don't think he's ever going to take it.
They haven't shown it.
They haven't shown it. So, to your point, all the opportunity is from a betting standpoint, is in the NFC.
The NFC North with the Lions and the Bears right now at BetMGM, Detroit plus 150, the favorite to win that division. Chicago is the long shot, 4-1. We talked a little bit about it in the first hour with Atlanta. Would you maybe take a speculative plus 450 on the Falcons to win the division if they were to get Lamar Jackson? It's not necessarily speculative, but it's more so just baked into hey, they have a lot of opportunity to get better. But would you take a flyer right now before the legal tampering period begins on Monday on Chicago at plus 400?
I think a lot of people will wait to the draft, but to me, the key team is the Vikings here. How do you perceive the Vikings? Because the Packers are hanging on there because Rodgers' deal isn't done yet. If Rodgers' deal gets done, they're going to drop down.
You think they'll bottom out?
The Bears will be the third. I do.
Wow.
I do. But how do you view the Vikings? They lose the home playoff game. They won all those games by one score. Was it just a lucky team? And Kirk Cousins is still Kirk Cousins. I can't get over that. So I think this is a short price on the. I think all of these teams in this division right now, except the Packers, but you can't make the move just yet, should be like between plus 190 and 270 or something. Yep. I think it's that close. How's it with $150 and $4?
I don't make that either.
So to your point, the Bears are with all the value right now.
Yeah, I think I would be interested in betting the Chicago Bears. To your point on Minnesota, last year their point differential was -3. Minus 3 point differential after winning 13 games. That just goes to show you how razor thin the margins were in the games that they were winning, and all of those kind of bounces were going their way. Will that happen again in 2023? Chances are no of that happening. So I would expect some regression. Of course, they also went ahead and released Adam Thielen yesterday, moving on from him. But Chicago, with the 9th overall pick, I would imagine they spend it on offensive line or something, because like the big defenders, like the Andersons, maybe Carter's there, and it checks out that Carter's, they're fine with whatever character issues, quote unquote, that he might have. Maybe they go that route, but they at least should be able to get one of the better old linemen to help protect Justin Fields.
I think that's their biggest need, because they're putting pieces around Fields. If he can throw the ball accurately, right? You know his running abilities, but they got to be able to run the ball out of the backfield as well and protect him. So I think they need to build the line like the Lions did through the draft. That's their number one, and then focus on the defensive side of the ball. But they have a lot of draft capital to do it. You got 1, 2, 3, 7 picks in the first 5 rounds.
It's pretty
good.
Think
about that.
It's pretty good there. They're pretty high picks. And I think the thing with Chicago that we're going to start seeing this upcoming week is the salary cap space. They have to spend X amount of dollars to reach the salary floor. Like, you can't just have everybody be on a minimum contract. It's against the CBA. So the Bears are going to be spenders in free agency. I would imagine that they give DJ Moore an extension. That's probably something that was kind of worked out in the deal when they made the trade yesterday with Carolina. But like Jacksonville last year, where we saw the Jags probably overpay good players. They paid good players great money, but that still improves the team. Now, long term, there's the ramifications of that, but they're at least going to have better players on their team. I think Chicago, I don't know if they're going to win the division because they have a lot of holes, but they're going to be a much, much better team in 2023.
I also think the last 6 weeks of the year, the Bears were competitive deep into second halves in a lot of these games and didn't finish the last 8 to 10 minutes of the game. Some of the scores are misleading. I mean, they ended up the perfect spot. If you don't make the playoffs, you want the number 1 pick, right? The mediocrity is what perpetuates itself. I got to ask you a question because of your background with Seattle.
Yep.
Where do you stand with confidence in Pete Carroll?
I'm confident in Carroll doing the stuff day to day and the stuff that we don't get to see. And that was always my argument with Seahawks fans back during the Russell Wilson years, because kind of how funny how the narrative is flipped. Everybody wanted to fire Pete Carroll, kind of like what Russell Wilson did as well. And everybody was siding with Russell Wilson. Now we've seen that narrative change over last year when Russell Wilson's played.
Very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly how things can change. Wilson declines a little bit, and then Carroll and the Seahawks still go ahead and make the playoffs. I think Pete Carroll's expertise is the stuff that we don't see. It's the motivational stuff. It's the stuff that, like, preaching competition Monday through Saturday, the stuff that galvanizing a locker room all throughout the OTAs, the mini camps, the training camps. That's where Pete Carroll shines. Does he screw up timeouts and challenges? Of course, because not every coach is going to be perfect, and there is no perfect coach. Andy Reid still screws up timeouts in the middle eight and all that stuff, even being as good a coach that he is. So I trust Pete Carroll. I trust John Schneider, their general manager. The one thing I love about them is that they march to their own beat. They don't care about what the outside noise is of, hey, this is the conventional thing to do. They say, well, this is what we're going to do. Like we don't care about the conventional wisdom. We have our own kind of board and our own values here. So I trust that program, and I trust that they'll have a winning team this season. Were they a little bit fortunate last year? I think so, just because the NFC was down and Geno Smith played above what I'm sure they even expected. But I think that what you said earlier in this segment of them having the assets and the resources to build a really good team around Geno Smith is going to propel them to being a playoff team again. And I really think that they can be a challenger to the Niners in that division to win the division.
I call him Bozo the Carroll because of all the end game antics. But yeah. I go back to, and college is a different game than the pros. He was the best halftime coach in the game at USC. They were unbelievable in the adjustments they always made at halftime from a strategic standpoint. And I always think, especially from a defensive mind that's still there.
5-1 to win the West. You interested?
I am interested because I'm up in the air with the 49ers. I'm out on Arizona and the Rams.
We'll talk more Seahawks with our next guest on the other side. Michael.
Bloomberg Business of Sports Report. I'm Charlie Pellett. Wisconsin's top Republican says a plan put forward by Democratic Governor Tony Evers and the Milwaukee Brewers to spend nearly $300 million in taxpayer money on improvements to the stadium where the team plays is likely dead in the GOP-controlled legislature. An 82-year-old Colorado man has been charged with selling and trading fake Michael Jordan basketball cards in a scheme that prosecutors said resulted in him making more than $800,000 over 4 years. You can bet on events like the Academy Awards, and now there is a report that WWE is in talks with gambling regulators from Colorado and Michigan to legalize betting on scripted matches. CNBC, citing sources, said WWE is working with Ernst & Young to secure wrestling match results with the hopes of proving to officials that the results will not be leaked to the public. And that's the Bloomberg Business of Sports Report. I'm Charlie Pellett.
The diehards.
What's the deal with the beware of moose signs every 5 miles? I didn't see a moose.
The moose moved out long ago. They're like, this place is freezing cold. I don't like it.
There's no moose in Maine. It's a hyperbole. It's an exaggeration. There's no moose.
When I saw those bumper stickers, I thought it was a joke. Like, beware of moose. Like, imagine that. Imagine if you saw an animal living outside in this Arctic tundra. I thought it should be like, beware of penguins.
The Diehards, weeknights from 8 to 10 Eastern on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Have you ever messed up and held on to a stock for too long? 2022 was an incredibly challenging year for the stock market, and behavioral biases led to massive losses for individual investors. I'm David Keller, Chief Market Strategist at StockCharts.com, where we help investors to take a pragmatic approach to the market through technical analysis. As the leading online charting tool, StockCharts.com allows you to review historical data, spot the trends, then make informed decisions and invest with confidence. We also curate and review information from leading analysts like John Murphy and Martin Pring and make those expert insights available to you. For example, our year-end S&P 500 target is 4,300, but we think a retest of the 2022 lows is likely. The charts suggest focusing on stocks showing strong relative strength, including industrials and materials. See what we're tracking at StockCharts.com. Better information leads to better investing, and that starts with your free 30-day trial at StockCharts.com.
Wake up call! I want to thank Anthony Pepe and the Diehards. I was on the show last night to talk about the start of the Formula One season last night, and those guys are really fun. So a bunch of New England guys shared my New England experience. It was a good time. Anthony Pepe does a really good job.
See, but you don't say that because we're not going to be able to get their heads in the studio.
No, that's very true. They informed me that they liked our promos.
Well, that's the first thing they've said right all year.
Right.
Wake Up Call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
This is Brent Musburger, and you've got the best of both worlds. VSiN programming on the SportsMap Radio Network.
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Femi Abebefe, on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is time to download Nevada's premier sports betting app, BetMGM Sports. BetMGM has all of your favorite wagering options, along with in-game betting, boosted odds specials, and much more. Download the BetMGM app today and stop by any MGM casino on the Strip with your state-issued ID to open an account and start placing sports bets from anywhere in Nevada. Whatever your sport, whatever your betting style, you're going to love BetMGM state-of-the-art technology and fan-friendly specials every day of the week. Visit BetMGM for terms and conditions. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Nevada. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Welcome back. This is the Lombardi Line presented by BetMGM. Femi Abebefe hanging out with Mike Palm in for Michael Lombardi here on this Saturday. We'll get to the college hoops in a little bit in 15 minutes with Thomas Gable, race and sportsbook director over at the Borgata next segment. But joining us now to help us continue our conversation on the critical offseason ahead for the Seattle Seahawks, we bring in the beat writer for The Athletic, Michael Sean Dugar. Michael Sean, man, what's up? Hope all is well. Let's start with the quarterback position here for the Seahawks because it ties into what they did earlier this week, giving Geno Smith the 3-year extension worth more than $100 million. But based on what we saw yesterday with the Panthers moving up to number 1 with the trade with the Chicago Bears, do you think that alters the Seahawks' plans at the top of the draft with pick number 5? Are they still looking quarterback, or do they maybe kind of zero in on one of those top defenders?
Yeah, it was interesting because the Seahawks, they usually pick like in the 20s. Usually their native pick is like 26, 21, 23, stuff like that. So for them, it's been really hard to like do mock drafts or whatever simulations to kind of see how things would play out so they can shape their board. So just from that perspective, they're really happy about having 5, right? It's like, all right, takes the guesswork out of it. We only got to do, there ain't but so many choices if for 4 people pick in front of us. Right? And with that, I bring that up because with Carolina coming up, now they've telegraphed what they are going to do. And the GM of the Panthers, Scott Fitter, is boys with John Schneider. They've worked together for decades. So even if they weren't telegraphing what they were going to do by the trade, Scott knows John, John knows Scott. So that really takes the guesswork out of it. So I just, from that perspective, I think they're just really happy about the trade. So now they kind of know, all right, we have 3 quarterback-needy teams ahead of us, and there's a possibility maybe the Raiders, jump in ahead of them as well. As far as whether they take a quarterback or a top defensive player, it really comes down to, like, agenda, essentially. Like, front offices, generally speaking, are long-term thinkers, right? They have to be. They have a plan, probably build out the roster. That's why teams don't usually swipe the credit card, push cap down the line, because, they're thinking long-term success. So if you're thinking long-term, you take Anthony Richardson if that boy is there because he is special, is in my mind. And I think some people in the Seahawks building would agree with that. Or Will Levis, because he's got a good arm too. If you're thinking short-term, like a head coach usually would, like Pete Carroll, you're thinking, hey, man, we ain't going to be in this top 5 no more. So if that boy Jalen Carter is there and his worst transgressions is a couple misdemeanors, Jalen Carter, you are a Seahawk because you helped us in 2023. So I would lean towards the defensive end of it just because they have a defensive-minded head coach who is a short-term thinker, because most coaches are, and he has final say over the roster. That would be where I would lean, but I really could go either way with this franchise.
Michael Sean, there's rumors that Bobby Wagner may be on the table to come back to Seattle in free agency. What position groups or prospects do you think they have their eye on when free agency kicks off?
Yeah, I think inside linebacker has to be one of them, which Bobby Wagner plays, obviously. They have Jordan Brooks, who they love. He was a first-round pick in 2020. He blew his knee out. It's not a good time to blow your knee out, but Week 17 certainly is not a good time because then you're almost out for the whole year in some cases. So that creates an issue. That's their starting linebacker and signal caller. Cody Barton, Jordan's backup, is going to be a free agent here on Monday or Wednesday officially. That's huge, right? You go look at their depth chart. Basically, to start week 1, you're not going to have either one of your guys. So you need inside linebacker. You can't just rely on a rookie for that position because you ideally want someone who's called plays before, because in their defense, the Mike linebacker calls the plays. So inside linebacker's got to be, atop the list. After they cut Shelby Harris, or at least they intend to cut Shelby Harris, one of their veteran defensive tackles, they're